Good afternoon, and welcome back to part 2 of my EMU ranking video. I'm using the same points-based system. I'll be reviewing every class currently in passenger service. You know the drill. Let's pick up where we left off. Kicking us off in number 26, we have the class 710. These are essentially a newer version of the 378 intended for London Overground. They've got longitudinal seating, not very pleasant to travel on, but I'd say they do the job better than the 378. I personally prefer the interior ambience, and they're slightly cleaner and more unique if you ask me. In 25th place we have the class 387, the Electro Star in its final form. They're dual voltage and have a high top speed of 110 miles an hour, which is very nice. They also don't look that good in my opinion. The individually panelled windows are ugly if you ask me. And as for the interior, well, a 2+2 reasonably regional layout is quite nice. The tables are very sturdy, which I very much do like. But the ironing board seats let it all down. There isn't really much of an excuse for them, particularly on the express duties like Gatwick Express. Overall, there are better trains out there. In 24th place we have the class 333. It feels a bit of a shame to be marking these trains so low. I really love them, and they're a close relative to one of my favourite EMUs of all time, the class 332. However, when you boil it down, there's actually very little impressive about them. Sure, their performance is great and they're reliable. They also look stunning. But the interiors are bad and the sounds aren't anything stellar either. It's a shame that such trivial issues bring it down. But ultimately, interiors matter. At least in my opinion. The class 360s, in 23rd place, are probably the worst of the first generation Desirées. Their lack of engangways makes them look ugly, and I can't really see any role in which they do a job better than a class 350. Also, how many times will I have to say this? 3+2 seating doesn't work. In 22nd place we have the class 707. Now, I hear you ask, why have I put these above the class 700? Surely, with its toilets and first class, the 700 is better. Well, yes, the class 700s are actually better physical trains. However, they're not intended to operate the same services. The class 700 operates many different routes, including quite long regional express services, and was designed for them. I don't think it suits that very well at all, whereas the 707 was purely for commuter trains, and it fits that bill very well. They're some of the most appealing metro trains in the country if you ask me. All that standing space can really mop up a platform. This is the moment I realised that I'd completely forgotten about the class 320 and 321, which I'd given a score of 43 points, which would put them somewhere in the last video. As a result, all my rankings have been off by 1, and yes, I don't exactly know what to do about it. As a result, all the following rankings will go down 1 number, and I'll just slip in the little grid I did for the 320 and 321, so please accept my apologies for forgetting this train. I don't know how that happened, but I think it's something to do with them being 2 classes, and my brain just didn't see the number, so I don't know. Post-editing note. Somehow I forgot 21st place as well. Everything's going to pot, so you'll please have to ignore everything, and you'll just have to trust that this is a vehicle for me to elaborate on my train-based opinions rather than being actually about the rankings. I really do apologise though. I'll try to ensure this sort of thing doesn't happen again. I can't really believe it happened in the first place. With the class 320 and 321 receiving an honorary 20th place position as compensation for my complete forgetting that they exist, let's move on to position 19, and that goes to the class 385. I'm not sure what to think about these trains. They have 1/3, 2/3 doors, which probably isn't ideal for the intercity services they operate, and the interiors are extremely Spartan. Furthermore, they had a terrible design fault in which the driver could actually see duplicate signals. This could be very dangerous if they mistook a single yellow signal for double yellow, for example. That said though, they're extremely reliable, and when that's coupled with the improved performance due to the electrification of the Edinburgh to Glasgow line, I think these are probably a step up for the passenger. Spot 18 goes to the class 331, and take it with a pinch of salt that this is positioned so low down on the list. I really like these trains. Their performance is like nothing else, they look great, they sound good, and the interior ambience is one of the best in any modern train. The thing that lets them down is the fact that their ride quality is absolutely diabolical. It's CAF though, so what do you expect? In 17th place we have the Class 395, with the somewhat pretentious name of Javelin. I have to be blunt, these are quite pretentious trains as a whole. They're supposedly high speed and very special, but the interiors are very barren, and the lack of first class makes me ask a few questions. Why didn't they put it in? I mean, I'm sure there'd be demand. They're running a very premium service between the South East and London. There's plenty of people who would pay. As great as South Eastern high speed is, I do feel like their Class 395s could perhaps make better use of the high speed and operate at up to 186 miles an hour. This would also mean they wouldn't hold up Eurostars, though that doesn't happen too often as HS1 is underutilised. Number 16 goes to the Class 357 with 51 points. These are very middle-of-the-road trains, with good reliability and meh everything else. They do the job, and the interiors are fine, except for the 2+3 sets. The seats are comfortable at least. 15th place goes to the ever-present Class 323. I do really like these trains, as does everyone by the looks of it. They have incredible sounds, and their performance is like nothing else for the time. The acceleration is rapid, and when you consider they were built 30 years ago, well, you start to appreciate them. The interiors aren't up to much though, but that's not really essential for the short journeys they operate. On the whole, I think they're decent trains, but it's probably time for them to get a replacement. 14th place goes to the intriguing Class 380. They look very wacky, but I rather like it, and they sound nice as well. Performance is also great for their high-density routes, and passenger comfort's not that bad. If you ignore the fact that they don't have tables, their seats are pretty good. Reliability wasn't fantastic when they initially entered service, though it has smoothed out a little, but overall, they're great. In 13th place we have the Class 345 at 52 points. These are really quite good trains. They ride well and have very stylish interiors, considering they operate underground routes. Like all the other Aventras, they look amazing from the body side, and ultimately have a very premium feel to them. They're really good trains for their purpose. In 12th place we have the Class 375 for Kent suburban work. They're actually decent trains, with very comfortable seating if it's not a 375-9, 2+3 beware. Ultimately they're quite good, but I feel that for their longer distance journeys, maybe something slightly fancier could have been acquired. That's nitpicking though. Also in 12th place. Wait, have I not already done 12? Well, yes, but I'm also including the Class 377 in 12th, as that they're just so close between that and the 375 that it would have been a toss-up otherwise. So, the ubiquitous Class 377. They're everywhere in the south of England, and I'd actually say that's quite a good thing. I think they do what they're designed for quite well, though they aren't perfect. The 2+3 seating in certain coaches is terrible, but the fantastic 2+2 in the driving cars more than makes up for it. And finally for this video, we have the Class 745 in 11th place. These are brilliant trains, but their best feature is perhaps accessibility, and one that most people won't even notice. But in order to explain this, we'll have to begin with this exquisite and technically accurate diagram depicting your typical British train layout. As you can see, the entire passenger cabin is built on one level, with the bogies and all the equipment being positioned under that. This is very convenient to design and operate. However, it does mean that the trains actually ride higher than platform height. As a result, at stations, ramps need to be used if you want to get, say, a wheelchair onto the train. As I'm sure you can imagine, this could be quite restricting for someone confined to a wheelchair, as they require the help of staff every time they want to board or alight from a train. It also affects punctuality, as the deployment of ramps takes quite some time, especially if it wasn't pre-planned for. Now once again praise my artistic skills and take a look at this diagram of the approximate shaping of the Class 745. As you'll see, the passenger cabin is at different heights throughout the train, and it's actually sunk beneath the height of the bogies. This means that the door can sit at exactly platform height, which is amazing. Even better, instead of having a fixed step like most trains do, it has a sensor and a retractable ramp, so it measures the exact distance between the train and the platform and extends the ramp to meet the gap. It's just phenomenal. This means that wheelchair users can simply roll onto the train without the help of anyone, and The freedom that must bring is incredible. Now, I would be mightily impressed if it was just that. But even better, they include shared bogies between coaches. This allows weight to be saved massively, and therefore enables heavier and more comfortable bogies to be used. This means the ride quality in these trains is brilliant. There's just so many features of really clever design. I love them. This is common in many railways across Europe, but it's brand new to the UK, and blows my mind every time. Unfortunately, however, it does come with a few drawbacks. To clear the wheels, the floor height must be varied throughout the train. This does create a slightly ugly impression of seats at all different heights, but I think it's relatively minor compared to the immense benefits of the Step 3 access. So with this ingenious feature, why isn't this train on number 1? Well, unfortunately, I don't think they're suited to their role that well. As heartless as this may sound, I don't really think this feature is needed on long-distance intercity routes. As the trains don't stop that often, it's perfectly fine to use a ramp as the dwell times are quite long. I think now you're focusing on making the passenger environment as comfortable and enjoyable as possible, and with all the different heights throughout the train and frequent doors, I don't think it's amazing. Furthermore, their top speed of 100 miles an hour feels a little short-sighted. It's fine for London to Norwich at the moment, but if they were to upgrade the line speed, well, they're done for. Even despite that, they're such good trains that they're nearly in the top 10 anyway. So, there are my thoughts on some indeterminable number of middle-of-the-road electric multiple units. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to join the Discord, and goodbye.